All right. Nancy, you're up next. You will have 5 minutes to do with it how you would like.
Good evening, council members, members of the Elk Grove community. Thank you for the opportunity to address you tonight. I want to pause to reflect on the interesting issues that you discussed at the top of your meeting. We got to see the full array of issues that government has to deal with. We saw young people involved in making their community better and giving us hope for a brighter future. And we saw some of the sadder, more tragic events that government has to deal with. And I thought it was a good way to start this very important meeting to really ground us and remind us what this is all about. I've had the opportunity to serve as your appointee on the Planning Commission for the past 5 years. But I don't want to start talking about that. I want to tell you a little bit about what motivates me. I was raised by 2 immigrant parents who came to this country with nothing but hope for a brighter future. My mother was only allowed to attend 1 year of primary school because in the place and at the time that she grew up, it was never expected that women would have opportunities that required any formal schooling. My father only attended 3 years of primary school before he had to drop out to support his family financially. And their struggles to give their children access to all of the opportunities that this country has to offer are what gave me a strong work ethic and a solid moral and ethical foundation. Now, they didn't know I was going to talk about them tonight, but as further proof that I have the best parents ever, they actually drove up for 6 hours to be here with me tonight. As a surprise, mind you, I didn't even know they were coming. So not surprisingly, that is the reason I made a career out of ensuring that government agencies operate in a responsible and transparent manner, and that they are focused on serving their citizens. As a member of the Planning Commission, I've taken the business of governing seriously. I don't take lightly any of the decisions that we make that affect the lives of other people. That experience has allowed me to become knowledgeable about how our city works, about the strengths of our city and its challenges. I've developed good working relationships with active citizens, with community groups, and with those who do business in our community. I've worked hard to make decisions that protect the best interests of our city and enhance its reputation as the best place to live, work, and do business in the Sacramento region. I have the skills to work with people from different backgrounds and with different points of view, to truly listen, to negotiate, and to identify the best course of action. I may not have the blessing of special interest groups weighing in tonight, but I have always had an open door policy and been willing to listen and learn from people who disagree with my decisions. Throughout the past 5 years, I've frequently heard comments and received notes from people telling me that although they disagreed with my decisions, they wanted to thank me for my analysis and deliberation of complex projects. As you know, the economic recession of 2007 hit Elk Grove harder than it did a lot of other cities. And to your credit, you have been taking steps to improve the business climate for our city. The decisions you make in the next 2 years will determine whether we take advantage of the national economic recovery or whether it will pass us by. My experience in making government more effective and efficient can be of use to you as you work to bring quality jobs to this city. There is much we can do to facilitate investment and to make Elk Grove the model of customer service for businesses. Of course, economic development is only one measure of success, and our city will be as successful as it is safe. And interestingly enough, there are a lot of connections between those. As the previous gentleman mentioned, with economic development, we have shorter commutes, which are not only an improvement to our environmental condition, but they also decrease delinquency, they decrease crime. So there are so many connections between all of those issues that come before you. If our homes are safe, if we're not worried about our children, and if these ladies from 4-H are able to freely go out into their community and do all of the great things they're doing, then we will have provided the safety that Elk Grove residents and potential investors need. And Elk Grove must remain a great place to raise a family, to enjoy a vibrant and healthy retirement. I'm running for City Council to ensure that the residents of the 4th District and those across the city are represented with integrity, accountability, and respect. I am my own person. Anyone who knows me knows that the suggestion that I can be controlled is laughable. If you don't believe me, just ask my husband. I have been tested, and I have demonstrated that I will always make the decision that is in the best interest of this city. I stand before you as a wife, a mother, a neighbor, someone deeply committed to ensuring that the future of our city is bright. I come with one goal, and that is to do this job right, and I ask for your vote. Thank you. I'm available for questions.
Great. Thank you very much. I'll start with Councilman Hume this time, if you have any questions.
I do. Thank you. I have two questions, and they're the same two questions I had for the previous candidate, and I'll have for the remainder. And the first one is do you plan to seek, or would you plan to seek election in 2014?
I would, Councilmember Hume, and the reason for that is because I am committed to this city. Serving the city is not a recent interest for me, and I believe in the almost sacred power of elections. They are the one way that the citizens can hold us accountable. So should you choose to appoint someone tonight, that following election is really the only way that the residents of Elk Grove can hold that person accountable for the decisions they'll make throughout the course of the next 2 years. So to take that opportunity away from the residents of Elk Grove, to essentially say that no matter what may transpire over the course of the next 2 years, the public cannot hold that individual accountable, that's just not something I would welcome as a resident and voter of Elk Grove.
Interesting response, so that you're held accountable for your record for better or for worse.
Absolutely.
And then my second question was also the other question, and that is, what was it about right now that made you decide to come up to the council?
This has certainly been a long time coming for me. I was a bit reluctant. I've had folks in the community encouraging me to do this for a very long time. I think the fact that there was a vacancy where I lived did seem like an ideal opportunity, but in the meantime, and while I've been telling folks no thank you, I really don't ever want to run for office, I've been had my head down and working on the issues that affect the city, watching it take shape, and becoming increasingly knowledgeable and just caring more every day. So I view it as an extension of the work that I've been doing, and I just want to make sure that the citizens of the 4th District get the best representation they can. Well,
thank you. I appreciate that, and I can relate, obviously, having been a former planning commissioner as well. So
yes.
Thank you.
Very good. Thank you. We'll go to Vice Mayor Detrick.
I've known Nancy and her husband for about 5 years now, and I've watched you at Planning Commission meetings, been to your house for civic events, talked to you on the phone multiple times, and we share some of being on some people's impression of the wrong side of a vote on a very controversial project. And, I think you've done a great job on the Planning Commission. I've gotten to know you, watched you, both professionally as well as in the community. And I don't really have any other questions because you've answered all my questions.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Very good. Councilman Cooper.
No questions.
Okay. I'll go back to the same two. Just to reiterate, though, the state priorities and arguably local priorities for improving our air quality, but specifically, a lot of the state measures that are enacted really advocate for increased regulation on business. So that's one sort of set of priorities. Elk Grove needs more jobs to balance out our jobs housing imbalance. Help me understand how you balance those two competing priorities in Elk Grove.
Absolutely. So the Planning Commission's deliberations of the Climate Action Plan and sustainability element are a classic example of how you really have to balance, the carrot and the stick approach. And although, of course, the state would like us to be as aggressive as possible, those of us who are here on the ground working directly with our friends and neighbors and local business owners know that you really have to hold private property rights and unintended consequences of whatever actions you may take as a priority. So as I did on the Planning Commission during those deliberations, I think you have to take it on a case-by-case basis because, as one of my colleagues mentioned in a recent Planning Commission meeting, in one way, you can argue that everything we do tramples on somebody's private property rights. So it really is a matter of degrees, a matter of listening to stakeholders, of having an open door policy, as I mentioned, and be willing to listen and learn from all of the affected parties and to ultimately make the decision that is in the best interest of the city.
Okay, great, thank you. And what does community mean to you?
Community to me means relationships. It means the relationships I have with my next door neighbors, the relationships I have with people across the city, the relationships that people from different perspectives and with entirely different life paths forge. And particularly like we get to see in this city, they are willing to work together for the betterment of their neighborhoods and all of us Elk Grove residents, and that's what community means to me.
Wonderful, thank you. Any other final questions for now? All right, great. Thank you very much, Nancy. Make your way up. David, you'll have your 5 minutes.